Hello guys, Wahoo here, back with another video. This time around going over the settings, the video settings that I have. I might also include all the other settings that I do have with a few tips in here, but we're gonna do the video settings first, and then if you want to watch the rest of it, we are also gonna do the rest of the settings that I do have. Not specifically like key bindings and stuff like that, that's not really super important, but we're gonna do the video settings that I have that I'm running with and I've been doing for a very long time. And I can't believe I haven't made this video in like ever basically. So this kind of sorry that I haven't made one of these before. But without ranting too much, let's go into the settings. So settings, of course, well, they do language first. Have it in English. You can do whatever you want. But let's go on to the video. So make sure you are on DirectX. Many people don't use OpenGL, so make sure you're on DirectX. For even more, what would you call it, like, what's it called, performance, you want to go full screen, and then of course you want to go whatever your, basically it's always going to take the settings that you have on your, your dashboard, or your desktop, whatever it's called, so you will get most out of having it full screen, but since I have a fairly good computer, I can run it in full screen windowed, and you can probably also do that yourself. But if you want to go for the maximum performance, you don't want to go full screen, but then you cannot tap out and stuff like that. Well, you can, but then it has to, do that. But I go full screen windowed, and that's it. Yours should not look like this if you're going into it as first. It should say something, you can click advanced. I think it's advanced settings or something like that before that is basic working, if that makes any sense. If it's not, I don't know why it shouldn't be like you can click advanced, but it should only do this. And of course, the brightness and gamma is that what you're gonna have to set if you want to. Don't use any of these up here. Of course, you can go with the lower one, click just the lower one and set it to the lowest one, but yeah, doesn't really matter. You don't want to click ultra either, these two if you are, but these are the settings that I have, and I'm gonna go over all of these in like what would give you the most performance basically. So of course we did the brightness and the gamma. The next is the draw distance, and draw distance is basically how far you can see out in the world, and of course the lower you put this, the more performance. So this actually is one of the biggest performances, but also you can't see very far, which makes it kind of a little bit annoying. So I recommend, if you can, have it as high as you can, but you can also find a good spot again down here if that is. It's really an individual how much it's gonna give you. One thing I can actually tell you is that if you go into your chat and says /debug, if I can actually debug text, I think it's like that. That was not it. Debug text. It's one word, right? Oh, it's with. Sorry. I'll try that again. Debug. It was like that. Text like that. There you go. Now you can see your FPS and stuff like that. So it's debug text in one word, as you can see down here. Just type that in, and that's gonna show you your FPS in game. These numbers up here after the FPS is basically your ping to the different worlds and stuff like that. I don't know the exact numbers and stuff like that, and how what numbers are good and not, but at least you can see your FPS, so that's pretty good. And of course you can see your location, but that doesn't really matter. But you can see your FPS up here. So if you suddenly go from like a lot to not that many, that's also something to do with the draw distance. Next is the super sampling. It doesn't matter if it's on 1 or it's 4 really, but if 1, you can see the difference, that's what I mean. So just put it at 1, don't put it at 0, but you can put it up to 4 if you have a really good computer or something like that. You can put it at 4, but 1 is more than enough, and you're not gonna see the big difference at all, but it's gonna be a big performance boost basically. Shader detail, that depends on how good you want to see the game. I have mine on 0 because I'm just used to having it like that, because I always have had it like that. But you can put it up like higher if you want to make more details and stuff like that. Also, there's more down here that's going to also do that, but it doesn't do them very much for your performance, depending on what you put it at. But so I would just put it at 0. Just make Trove look very like you can't see the, well, you can see the blocks if you look over here on the left here. You can see there's a line here, but you can't see the like those lines between these. But if you do the shaders, you can see there's lines between the things in the same color and stuff like that. If you want to do that, also Windows gets not Windows, not your OS, but more your Windows in Trove. They look more distinguished and stuff like that. If you want to do that, but not really needed. Next thing is of course the field of view. I want to just put it at 100. You can put it further down. The point is that it's gonna how much you're gonna see on the screen. It is gonna increase your FPS if you take it down to 0, of course, but you're also gonna be very close to your character. So if you like that, that's cool. If you don't, you know, that's just it. But I would 100% recommend to have this 100. It's not the biggest of performance increase, but it does show you more on the screen, of course, and that's of course going to lower your FPS by showing you more. Next is the detail distance. Again, the detail distance is how good you can see things in the, like, basically out of there. So have this at maximum if you have this at maximum, or you can also have this one at maximum and then have this like lower down. It will not show you more in the distance. It just makes more the background stuff more visual. So if you take this one all the way down, it's gonna like make like some fog in the background here, so you can't really see that far. Even though if you have your draw distance up very very high, it's gonna make that. So it's just gonna make it more like, see, this is where your line is and stuff like that. So I would recommend, if you have this one all the way at the top, you have this one also way on the top. VFX you can put down if you want to do that. It does make it better for the eyes if you take it down further. It's like less VFX, like shooting and explosions and stuff like that, if you have issues with that. But also the point is, if you have it this high, you are going to, some stuff you can't see. For example, if you take this down, items that are on the ground that drop out of a chest, for example, you can't see if it's like rainbow, shadow, stellar, crystal, whatever. They don't have that little aura around it. You can see that. It's just basically an item on the ground you are going to see. Also, if you're running some mods on PC, if you put this down at a certain point, I'm not sure exactly what it is, you can't, there's for example some mods you can't see, for example the improved VFX for crystal, shadow, stellar and so on, also radiant. You can't see that beam that goes through like everything and stuff like that. Also with the mini boss radar and stuff like that, those all work off VFX. So it's a very small, very small increase to your FPS if you have this. So again, I would recommend having this at 100%. Next thing is the things down here, and I can tell you which ones that you you should use and not should use. Vsync should not be on. You can try testing it. It's very individual. Normally you don't have Vsync on, but you can click it on, see how your FPS is and how your game feels. If it's worse, then of course take it off and then use it like that. Anti-Alias would you be on? That's what I've always had it on. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the biggest difference when I take it off and on and off, but yeah, just leave it on for again, it's individually. So click it on, see how your FPS is and how your game is, and then or else put it on if that is not there. Bloom is very individual. It's not a big difference in the FPS or not. It basically, bloom just means that your grass on the ground, for example, is gonna wave. You know, that is gonna put down your FPS if you have that. So if you really want to go maximum FPS, you should take this off. But it also makes Trove more square. I guess I can say it doesn't make it more lively. That's what I mean. Depth of field is also very individually. It's basically how it's like through a lens. You kind of look like through a lens if you put the depth of field in. I don't use it because it makes your character even further away. It does of course do something for your FPS. It always does. And yeah, this is something I don't like to have on because I feel like I'm like drawn to way too much away from my character basically. The SSAO, I'm not sure actually what this is, but I've never really used it. As you can see, it's not there. Again, you can try to put it on. I don't think it does the most for your FPS, but you can, again, it's all individually if it's something you want to have click on or off. Lens distortion, I think this is something also to do with some of how you look at the game and stuff like that. I've always had it on, so yeah, if you want to have it on, make sure you, of course, put it on. Again, it's about mostly about your gameplay. These here, I think these 4 here is what like does something for like your view and stuff like that, and you can mess around with that, and I don't think it gives you the most FPS, but again, it's very, very individually. Alright, so that is my video settings. I explained them. You probably copied them all. If you have, try them out. At least you know how to do it. Also, again, I can tell you that I'm on a high-end computer. So, of course, you want to go the lowest and just put everything down if you don't have a very end game computer. But let's go over the other settings that I do have. Not some of them I'm basically just going to skip. Audio, you know that. I'm just gonna say no. I'm not gonna save that. These are my audio settings. I got my controls here, how much everything is sensitive and stuff like that. Hotkeys is also here. I don't have anything there. Social, this is my social tab. Here you can also put your name and stuff like that, player name. It does have you change your world, or you can close down your game and open it up again and stuff like that. You can also have a profanity filter if you don't want to see if somebody's swearing and stuff like that, which I don't like to have. And also, it doesn't catch everything, but most of the things it does catch. And also because I do stream and stuff like that, I don't want to have too much of that. Payment is, of course, you know, that is there, right? That doesn't really make any sense at all. But the next thing is that you can also show combat text, so you can actually take off your shooting, whatever stuff you have. Play intro movie, which is awesome. But show player location is also something you can put up, so it didn't shows up here, but doesn't really matter if you have it or not. It really doesn't matter. I wish you could remove all of this up here. Like, I never really use it, but some do that as well. If you have a really good CPU as well, make sure you enable multi-threading. Take it off if it depends on. I would leave it on, kind of no matter what, but make sure that you look at your FPS to do so. Again, here you can also put your cornerstone damageable by bombs and abilities. There's also a command for it, but you can just do it here. Again, you can also change the user interface scale. I think in some games I know that changing the scale of your UI also increases your FPS because it shows less of the screen. But you can mess around with that, and of course depend on how much you want to see as well. Maybe you're just, you know, you're only using your hotkeys, so you don't really need to see too much down here and stuff like that. But I think it also changes like how big this is and stuff like that. So lastly, and what I really wanted to talk about is also the minimum rarity of loot all. So loot all is when you normally hold in E. You pick up an item by just clicking E. Or hitting E, but if you hold in E, there's not a lot of people. It basically loots all, which means that if you have, let's say, 4 items on the ground, you don't have to click 4 times. You can just hold down E, whatever button it is on consoles. There's also a button there. You can see it under your hotkeys. Let's not say yes to that. Let me see. There should be one that's called loot all or something like that. Don't know if there actually is one. There should be one that's named like that. I think it's if you have it with your E. Where's my E? I could probably looked at that a long time ago. All right, okay, I'm not sure what. Maybe you guys saw it while I'm scrolling, but there should be one as well. But it is just your loot button. So whatever you use on like consoles and stuff like that, it's basically the same thing. So you just gotta hold that button down and it's gonna loot everything. So enough explaining about the loot button, but you can do like a loot filter where you can only pick up these items here. Where like if you put it at crystal, for example, you will only pick up crystal items, not even stellars or what is it called, radiant and shadow and stuff like that. I think you can still go in and click it individually, like just by hitting the like the loot button again, instead of just looting all. I'm pretty sure it works like that, but I always have mine at common here. As you can see, mine is on common because I can, well, depending on what you want, but the thing is that some styles, for example, from the Starlight lit starglit, I think that's what they're called. The ones you get from your star bar, those actually drop some styles and stuff like that, and also other pinatas also drop stuff like that. And you cannot pick up all these. Well, you can again pick them up individually if you want to do that, but they're more or less invisible on the ground. So it's a very good idea to, where all the pinatas were, just hold in your E button or your loot button and pick up everything up. But the problem is that these styles are just common drops. So if you have set yours to, let's say, Shadow as a minimum, right? So you only want to pick up Shadow, Radiant, Stellar, and Crystal, you will not be able to loot these. So that's why mine is always uncommon. And yes, I'm not really using per se the loot filter but I will also be missing out on maybe some styles, or you will be missing out on some styles if you've set this to something different. It doesn't take you very long to change this. You can have this as Shadow, and then if you're running around and suddenly there's pinatas, you are going to just put it down to common, and that's good enough. But if you forget, you're going to lose out on these styles. And yes, they only sell for 1 flux though, these styles, if you already have them. But if you don't have them, you're missing out on a little bit of mastery just because you had this at Shadow. So if you do remember, you can make sure you can remember to change it back to common when you have some pinatas. But my suggestion is that you just keep it at common and just pick up whatever items there are and then just collect some more. But it can be nice when you are just starting out to set it at Shadow or something like that, so you're only picking up stuff like that. But make sure you remember to set it back to common. So that was my video settings plus every other setting that I have. Most of it is just very common, but I just wanted to make sure you guys remember, because it's not really common knowledge that that the loot filter works like that, and you cannot pick up these styles, and you wouldn't register it maybe if you don't have set it to that. So just wanted to give that guys information. You probably watch it for the video setting, hopefully, but if you did enjoy this video, make sure you like and subscribe, and that's it. I really appreciate you guys watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!